Folks, it is truly an exciting time to be alive. As we edge closer than ever on that precipice toward World War III, another development has very recently come to my attention, and one that, to be quite honest, I really, really am just hoping we do not go back to the Middle East. But right now, Trump is talking about getting control again of Bagram Air Base.
President Trump says that his administration is making plans to gain control of Afghanistan's Bagram Air Base. It's been 4 years now since the Taliban took control of the airport after the U.S. rapidly pulled its forces from Afghanistan in 2021 in a disastrous withdrawal under the Biden administration. There's video, you'll remember this, that shows the chaotic moments. People were chasing the plane as it left the Kabul airport carrying United States forces out of the country. President Trump announcing the plan while speaking alongside UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer.
We're trying to get it back, by the way. Okay, that could be a little breaking news. We're trying to get it back because they need things from us. We want that base back. But one of the reasons we want the base is, as you know, it's an hour away from where China makes its nuclear weapons. So a lot of things are happening.
And if necessary, he is seemingly prepared to go back into Afghanistan. Now, I don't know very much about this individual. Apparently, he is Bill Roggio, hopefully I say one of those right. They don't actually introduce him. It's just this clip of him talking, and without playing the whole thing, because I'm not going to chance it, I'll summarize it. He says that China sees us as a security risk being on their border, which I understand. But he also says that China and Russia both see it as a net positive that we are out of the region. And while that could be true, it also was pretty widely known that during our entire 20-year-long clusterfuck of a situation in the entire Middle East, China actually did see it as a long-term strategic benefit to see so much of our resources entangled in a conflict that, for all intents and purposes, we were not achieving any long-term, what the hell? I don't know what is with ads, dude. I don't know. Like, I'm not that fat. Hopefully they don't think that's what I look like. Sorry, guys, I'm getting sidetracked here. But he's basically saying that China will never allow us to go back into this base. And to make his point, he said that China could do things like revoke diplomatic status with the Taliban and reduce their trade that they do with the Taliban of rare earth metals and things like that. Well, I looked it up, and apparently it's about $1.5 billion worth of trade a year, primarily imports. And I looked it up because, as infuriating as this is to me, it's also kind of widely known that we were giving the Taliban essentially a war indemnity. Really, it was, we called it aid to help the, starving Afghans and all this stuff to help with infrastructure. None of it was going to that. Absolutely none of it was going to that. We were just funding the Taliban directly. We were literally just giving them money. It was supposed to be going to all of this right here, aid flow, education, healthcare, all that. None of it went to that. It's every single time you saw the Taliban on TV and they were talking about the U.S. needing to send more aid and that it wasn't enough. I shit you not. Every single time a Taliban representative would get on TV, he looked fatter every time. You would see the same guy and it looked like he had gained 3 to 5 pounds since the last time he had been on TV. And he's talking about we need more aid. It's like, maybe you do, but it probably would also help if you guys weren't siphoning off 100% of the proceeds. Now, to be fair, we did recently cut that aid off, which, thank God. I'm sorry for the Afghan people, but the money wasn't going to you anyway. So we were essentially like paying a war fee. It's like what you do when you lose a war, you pay out to the winners. Like that's what we were doing. We basically left billions of dollars worth of military equipment, which that's a whole different catastrophe. And Jocko, side tangent here for a second. Jocko Willink actually pointed out that it's not even like the tanks and the helicopters that he's most worried about from a long-term strategic standpoint. His biggest concern was we left night vision goggles over there. And that's an issue because that's a technology that we kind of take for granted all the time. But, you know, it's said about our military that we rule the night because we operate in dark places with extreme efficiency, right? The reason we do that is because we have badass night vision. Well, now, because of this sloppy withdrawal, they have night vision. Now, they have to reverse engineer it and figure out a way to mass produce it, and luckily, they do not have the engineers to do that. But it's still dangerous. They can still use what they have, and if they ever were able to get access to reverse engineering that, we effectively handed the Taliban one of the most significant technological advantages that we have. But our aid prior to the pausing of it around January was actually more than what China was giving. And this individual, Bill, I believe his name was Bill Roggio. Yeah, Bill Roggio was saying that China effectively had way more leverage than the United States as far as this airbase. Now, maybe that's true because the Taliban doesn't exactly view us as friends, but we were up until this 90-day pause. And actually, let's see, as of May, that's right. Okay. So the 1.8 billion would not be dispersed. So we haven't until very recently been giving this aid, but prior to that, we absolutely had been. So it's only within the last few months, and there's still the possibility that, because Trump is working out hostage deals. One thing I saw as I was looking up this story is that Trump is working on deals in Afghanistan. And so we know how Trump operates. Oh, whoops. I just realized that I switched my camera. So I'm like looking at stories. I thought you guys were seeing them. Whoops, my bad. Forgot to scene transition. Anyway, so I'll show you what I was looking at. So Trump gets another release, and so he's done multiple deals. Now, what that means is we have the possibility of resuming this aid, which I hope we do not. I don't want that to be a thing. But my point was the idea that there's more leverage on the Chinese side, maybe, but I don't think it's so cut and dry. And the idea that China is going to go to the full extent of immediately revoking diplomatic status of the Taliban as punishment for giving the U.S. access to a particular airbase in Afghanistan, that seems highly unlikely. I don't think that that is a very good long-term play, and I hate to do it, but credit to China where it's due. One thing that we have learned about the way that China plays the game of geopolitics, whether it's buying up land in the United States, whether it's essentially buying up GMO food sources and setting up a bunch of electronic equipment where our nuclear sites are. China is extremely good at playing the long game. We are very good at planning about 10 to 20 years into the future. China is very good at planning 30 to 50. They have been setting things in motion for a while that have just now started to come to fruition, right? So I don't think that it's an immediate, China gives them over $1 billion, therefore they have all the leverage in the world. It's not that cut and dry, and China wouldn't do something so drastic as to cut off diplomatic ties in a region that they have a major, major interest in having access to and political capital in. I don't see a world where, regardless of this outcome, that they would cut off diplomatic ties. The main thing is, and the reason why I wanted to talk about this is, for the love of God, I would take a full-scale invasion, boots on the ground, in Venezuela. I would go, okay? I've never been in the military, no experience. I would get my ass in basic right now. My old fucking kneecaps, busted ass old man, get my ass into basic training, go through, and I would be a set of boots on the ground in Venezuela right now if it meant that we did not have to go back to Afghanistan. For the love of God, we have, as a country, war fatigue like we have never had before in this nation because of that conflict. The last thing we need after just a few years, and with one of the strategically worst, if not the worst, military withdrawal in modern history, you're telling us that over one fucking airbase we're gonna go back because it went so well the first time, right? Yeah, I don't see that working out very well. I see maybe some people that would be happy to go back to maybe get another crack at achieving what we didn't, in part because we really didn't have an effective long-term strategic set of outcomes. We kind of were just going in circles. But also, I think there are plenty of individuals who lost brothers and sisters in arms that would be more than happy to go over there and kill the individuals who were responsible for that. So I'm not saying that people would outright refuse, but I don't think it would be politically popular. And considering how Trump's second term has been, to put it as generously as I can right now, as a guy who happily voted for him at the time, a mixed presidency, I don't really think he could afford to be the guy who gets us back into a conflict in the Middle East. I don't see that going well. And I think if he is really that concerned about his legacy, he might want to rethink that. Just my 2 cents.